But yeah, speaking of modding Wynncraft, should we get started on our next interview? From developing the mod most beloved by the Wynncraft community to actively working on the game itself, our next guest is none other than HeyZeer0, or is it HeyZeer0? You're gonna have to correct us. Oh yeah, unmute as well. There we go.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, chat. Hello, Linus. How are you all?
Well, I'm doing great. My voice is working at this hour. It didn't yesterday, so I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm been fine, but yeah, I can guess. I have been here for a bit, so makes sense.
Mm.
But yeah, you can call me HeyZeer0, HeyZeer0, or whatever you want. I'm used to be called a lot of things, so it's up to you.
Have the content team been closely watching this event as I go through one by one? But yeah, before we sort of get into the nitty and gritty stuff, tell us about your experience of Wynn before all modding and dev work. How did you get into Wynn in the first place?
Oh, I think I joined Wynncraft when, like, 1 week after it launched, so my account is, like, really, really old. And I was quite impressed by how the server was built, even if it was, like, way different than what it was today, and it kind of, like, caught my eyes, and it was like, holy cow, this is really cool. So I always had, like, some fascination for Wynncraft.
A true OG. We've had a few OG guests, and we've had a few newer players on here. But with sort of Wynncraft in mind, before you started modding and before you became a developer, what was your favorite part of the game? What did you enjoy doing the most?
Okay, before I was modding Wynncraft, I think before I was starting modding Wynncraft, I was like just playing normally the game. I was doing my quests, maybe doing some dungeons, and I noticed that there was like specific stuff that a Wynncraft was lacking, and it was mostly because they couldn't do it, and that was like my cue to make Wynntils at least.
And seeing as you're one of the admins of Wynntils, what inspired its creation?
Well, it's exactly what I said. There was like some other mods that were already related to Wynncraft, but none of them had I had like a view of what could be done about creating a Minecraft mod for Wynncraft, which was actually, my plan was not actually to just provide a bunch of utilities, was to actually improve the game itself with the tools that it couldn't have because it was vanilla. So that's when comes like the custom class selection, the health bar, and stuff like that. My goal was always to improve the game and make it better to play and make sure it was like satisfying all around and stuff like that.
Yeah. You sort of answered my next question, because Wynntils came in a time that there were other sort of community mods. Was the sort of idea to surpass them in a sort of level that haven't been seen before?
Well, my initial idea, because I didn't do this all alone. I have my partner CU with me at the beginning.
Yeah.
And CU was one of the developers for one mod that was trying to get back into the modding scene. You can say that. But our plan was all along was not actually, we didn't want to replace this mod. We wanted to be better, but we wanted to grab everyone that made a Wynn mod and then just get them to collectively work into the same thing. So we could make like the ultimate Wynncraft mod. And that's where Wynntils was born.
I see. And I mean, seeing as Wynntils is the most popular community mod in the history of Wynncraft, I feel like you succeeded, right?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, of course, it's not only my efforts. There is like the whole Wynntils team. There's the people that are currently working on Artemis that are doing a great job. I'm really grateful for everyone that ever touched Wynntils or even contributed to it, even if it's like a small contribution. Everything is worth.
Yeah. And I know nothing about modding, right? I know how to add mods, and that's about the limit of my knowledge. But I would assume that it's harder to mod for a specific server than just the normal game. Is that the case?
It kind of is. The problem, I mean, when we started with Wynntils, we were using like Forge, and Forge is heavily designed to be created for like client and server mods at the same time. So you have like new blocks and stuff, APIs, new blocks and APIs for that stuff that makes it easier to create this kind of stuff, and not really for client-side mods, which is the case for Wynntils. So most of the time we were like constantly reinventing the wheel, trying to make Forge work with stuff that it didn't.
Yeah.
And we were basically hacking it entirely to make the mod work as it currently is. That has slightly changed a bit with Artemis because Forge is still kind of the same way it is, but we have Fabric. Fabric is like way more open, and the implementation is whatever you want it to be, which makes it way easier to actually code and to and maintain it than the original Wynntils source code.
Yeah. Has working on Legacy gotten easier over time?
Well, the problem with Legacy is that its Legacy architecture is not really well designed. Wynntils was the first mod I ever wrote, so I did a lot of mistakes while creating the core part of the mod. It wasn't only me that did it, but we were like mostly inexperienced, and fixing mistakes, fixing like this kind of mistakes takes a lot of time, and most of the time we're just adding more and making it even more spaghetti. So the legacy code base, it has parts that are more modern and has like better stability and stuff like that, but it has parts that is like a completely mess and really spaghetti code.
Yeah,
because it doesn't have like a proper model or a proper architecture. We just had a vision, but we didn't have the full vision, so we recreated an architecture that was not enough for what we wanted.
Is that something you're trying to, I know you haven't worked on it a lot yourself, but is that something the Wynntils team is trying to keep in mind when working on the Artemis version?
Yes, I haven't actually contributed to Artemis at all. I have only gave them my thoughts and what I think would be cool, and maybe like some advice over it, or helped fixing specific bugs or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yes, one of the Artemis goals was to actually rewrite the entire mod and create the basic structure that could allow us to create more features easily. So we have like proper configurations and stuff like that, and the proper overlays as well, and a lot of other stuff that are way better done than how they are on Legacy.
Yeah. And speaking of features, do you have a favorite feature, either just from using or a favorite feature to having worked on?
For Wynntils, oh, I love the music player. It's my favorite feature.
What has been some of the more tricky features to work on?
What was the trickiest feature, or if the music player was tricky?
Oh, I mean, if the music player was tricky, then that too. But if if you have any other,
I think the most tricky feature to get first was the map, because I had no idea how to make it.
Yeah.
So I had to like learn quite a bunch of OpenGL and stuff like that, because I had to make the map efficient. And there was quite some thought on making maps. It's not that simple, especially for like minimap. The main map is kind of easy. It's just like a texture there, but the minimap is like, it has way more thought into it, because you need to scissor, and then you have like the square version, which is quite easy to draw, but then you have the circle one, which needs a mask, so it gets a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, I can see that. And sort of on the topic of the map, Wynncraft minimap rules are quite strict on what can be shown and what can't be shown. Is that sort of something you have to learn from sort of after you make a mistake? Like you make the mod and then you sort of get told by a moderator or something, or is that something you can work together with before you became a developer, sort of, you know? Is there a sort of contact you can have with moderators and such within Wynncraft?
For the map in specific, the rules aren't that restrictive. You just have like, you can't have cave maps and you can't show entities, and that's pretty much it. But yes, we do actually have a channel that we can talk with the moderators. It's called consultation on the Wynncraft Discord. Sorry, not the Wynncraft, the Wynntils Discord. And whenever we have a question, we want to know if a feature is allowed or what they think about a feature, we just ask in there generally. So yeah, that's the way we have kept talking with the Wynncraft moderators. Even before I was a dev, we would always check if we had a feature that we thought could be illegal, we would just ask it there and they would answer or check with someone else. That's usually how it goes.
Moving on to your role as a Wynncraft developer, how did that come about? How did you become a developer for Wynn?
That's a weird story. So I found a bug in the game that allowed you to break the game barrier. So imagine you would join the game, but you would not be in the same time in the game. You would play in like Minecraft vanilla. So you could interact with loot chests and do everything you would do on a vanilla, but you were not actually in the game. So I had this bug and it was like, I told someone to fix that. I told like a random developer to fix it. I don't remember who it was, but they never fixed it. And it was quite abusable because you could probably use it to find some random exploit. But it was never fixed. So what I did, I DM'd Jamla, and he answered me about it. And then after some time, I DM'd him again with a major issue, with another major. This one was actually even bigger. I'm not gonna discuss what it is because it was like a bad issue. And then that's when he asked me if I was interested on joining the Wynncraft development team and if I had experience dealing with Minecraft servers, which I have. I have quite a bunch of experience with Minecraft servers in specific.
Really? What is your previous experience of servers before Wynn?
Yeah, I have quite a couple actually. Mostly I am Brazilian, so I mostly worked with Brazilian networks. But yeah, I also worked on for example, I worked on a PvP network on Brazil that was kind of the same size as Wynn, so I already had like some experience. Of course, it's not the exact same experience as Wynn because Wynn is an MMORPG and that was like just a PvP server, but the concepts, like what is behind the Minecraft server and the architectures and knowledge is pretty much the same still.
Yeah. Quite a unique story on how you became a developer. You sort of personally
it's
reached
kind of
out
lucky.
Yeah, that's very lucky. But what does the job as a developer mean? What are your responsibilities?
I think the best way to describe my job is that I am a gameplay developer. So what I do is I create gameplay features alongside Salted, for example. Salted designs it and I create it. I code it. And I also create tools for the content team to do their work. So for example, I'm not responsible for creating quests, but I'm responsible for creating the tools for the city to make quests.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm also creating any other gameplay mechanic. For example, you have the ability tree that was made by me. You have the, I don't know, the war system and stuff like that.
So you sort of you write the code and sort of make it work.
Yeah. I also design some features as well. For example, the party finder. It's all my design.
The party finder is all your design. Ooh.
Yeah.
Did you come up with the idea?
No, Salted. I don't remember the specific. I don't remember what was the specific, but Salted wanted to make a party finder. But he had to go somewhere and he was gonna get busy for like 2 weeks. So he asked if I could make it. And if I could like make the entire design for it because he was not gonna be able to do it. It was something like that. So I just designed it entirely. That includes how it works, the menus, and everything else, including like the matchmaker, which is also part of the
Yeah.
party finder.
And sort of on the same topic of discussing things with Salted and such, we've talked a lot with the other content team members about their autonomy in their role, right? You work closely with Salted, I would assume, but who decides what you work on? Can you come up with your own ideas and work on that, or do you sort of work on what you're told to work on?
It depends. Yeah, I do work very closely to Salted, but sometimes things we do are my ideas. Sometimes it's his ideas. We just have like a priority of what we want to see or features that can be can be done. We usually work in like in dev cycles because we have a lot of contents in the game, but we don't have that many developers. So we can't work on everything at the same time. So we just pick a focus and then we improve that, and then we go to the next topic, and then we improve that. So that's basically how we work. So yes, I can come up with ideas and I can discuss them with Salted. And usually what I do is I just write the idea. I create like a ticket for it, and then I talk with Salted, and if he thinks it's cool, I finalize the ticket, and then we keep it there sitting. And whenever we reach that part of the development where we can pick that ticket, I would pick it up and add it to the list we're gonna develop for the next update, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But Jumla, right? He's the head developer. Do you work closely with him as well?
At the moment, Jomla is not really active, so I'm basically mostly replacing his role as a developer.
I see. Is
But there
Wynncraft
is
in
only me, so I'm
Yeah.
just the developer, and Crunkle, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Is Wynncraft in need of more developers?
Honestly, I'm not sure. Well, it depends on the amount of stuff we want to do in an update, if that makes sense. If you want to create a huge project, that would take like, if we want to do, for example, change half of the game randomly, we would need more developers. But it depends on the amount of times we're doing these changes, because the thing is, I can work quite fast, but I'm only a single person, so I can only work at one thing at a time,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So it's like you are parallelizing the job. So the more developers you have, more content can be developed at the same time.
Yeah. And seeing as you're sort of taking on all of this on your own, how's your workload? Is it stressful and overwhelming, or do you find a way to manage?
Sometimes it can be stressing, but I kind of like what I do, so I never think it is as a stress factor that makes me
Yeah.
that makes me feel bad or something like that. But yeah, sometimes you have like big updates or upcoming stuff that can make it stressful. For example, if you're making a release, but it's not stress about not being able to keep with it. It's more about it by itself. For example, if you're making the 2.0 release, I'm stressed because it's a big release and not
Yeah.
because of whatever other reason.
Yeah. And seeing how being a developer for Wynncraft is a paid position, unlike the content team, which are mainly volunteers. What differentiates the sort of amount of work and responsibilities you would have to the content team?
The content team is more freestyle, and while I have like the list of tasks that I need to do. For example, currently I'm working on something, and I know exactly what I need to do, and stuff like that. But the content team is more like a freestyle. So, for example, we have like a request system that managers can just do a request, and anyone that is part of the specific team can just pick that request and do it. That's basically how this CT work. But as the developer, I have my specific list of tasks that I need to do.
I see. How has it been to be a developer so far?
has been great. As I said before, I really like what I do, and
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for being here at Wynncraft.
Yeah.
I like the freedom that developing for Wynncraft gives me, and because I really like MMORPGs, and I really like the freedom that you have on creating one. It's like a specific feeling that you get when it's like you're creating a universe or helping creating something like that, and it's a really cool feeling, and that's what keeps me going.
um tell us about sort of a regular day in your life. How does it go? Do you work on Wynn all day?
I work partial time, so that's about 4 hours per day. Usually, sometimes I work less, or sometimes I work more. It depends on how excited I am to make something, mostly.
Yeah.
For example, if I have a cool feature that I'm like, holy cow, this is gonna be incredible to make. Even if it's hard, it's gonna be like cool challenge. Then I might work like 8 hours in a day. But most of the time I'm working because I feel like the more I work, less productive I am being, because um, it's a very complicated task, developing stuff, because you are not only creating. Sometimes you're creating something. Sometimes you're doing the architecture of a project. Sometimes you're designing specific things for like menus and stuff like that, sound effects and stuff like that. So the more time you are doing the same task, less effective you are on it, because you get burned out of doing it.
Yeah.
So it's not really effective for you to work, or at least for me to work 8 hours in a row, unless I'm really excited about it, which is some of already happened in the past quite a couple of times.
Yeah. And speaking of, about things that excite you to work on, what has been the most exciting things that you have worked on that's sort of completed, aka, that you can't tell us about?
You have the ability tree. I was really excited for the ability tree. The development of the ability tree, like the core system, like the menus, how it would work, how the stuff links, and how it unlocks. I did it in literally like in max 2 weeks, because I was so excited that I couldn't stop work on it. But then we have to do all the abilities, think on that, and it was still a fun experience to do it, but it was a lot of work, because imagine that you have 5 classes, but each class has 3 archetypes, so it's like you're developing 15 classes, and you have like hundreds and hundreds of abilities that are custom tailored and custom coded. So yeah, at the end I was really burned out of working on the ability tree. It still am kind of a little bit. I remember with like the last things I was doing was like the powder specials, and it was like, I can't face this anymore. I'm so burned out of the ability tree code. But it was an exciting project.
And speaking
And
of
I really like it.
yeah, you mentioned the powder specials.
Yep.
You told me that you work on particles for spells and etc. Did you work on the particles, or like the particle effects that showcase the powder specials?
Yeah, I made all of them actually. So
Yeah.
so yeah, all of the weapon specials and the I don't think the armor specials have any particles, but I might be wrong. I don't remember anymore. I think it's only the weapons. But yeah, I made all of them.
Did you also work on all the spells?
Yeah. Most of I don't remember what is like the percentage of ratio of what particles I made and what particles were made by someone else, but I was leading the particle makers, the particle artists, and my goal was always just to make it. I had like I don't want I have like a huge problem with like audio, sounds, and visual clutterness. I don't really like stuff that gets into your vision. It like really bothers me quite a bunch, and I don't really like stuff that is like spamming the audio as well. So that's something I always took care of when like telling people to make particles or making them myself. I'm not a really good pixel artist, but some of the particles that I made are kind of right. And if I thought I had like a good idea that I couldn't make, I would just like ask someone else to make. So I have like Fish Cute that helped me quite a lot on making particles. He made a lot of them, and it's the real MVP on the ability tree.
Are you
I
happy
need
with
a lot of more people that have.
Are you happy with how it turned out?
Yeah, I'm quite happy with how it turned out. I know that some people don't like specific spells or, for
Really?
example, the new bash animation or stuff like that, but I'm
Oh,
actually happy with that. But yeah, you can't please everyone, unfortunately.
yeah. And that's something I've asked every guest, actually, you know, how they deal with feedback and criticism. As the sort of main developer, when the community, but perhaps also other content team members, sort of have a tripe with one of your creations, how do you handle both positive but also negative feedback?
Um, well, it's a little bit more complicated. It goes a little deep, but
Mhm.
essentially, I don't really like the professional archetype. I don't want to, for example, if I'm talking to the community, I'm not gonna give like professional enters and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I like people to know that I'm also human and that I can also make mistakes.
Mhm.
And the way I deal with this kind of like negative feedback is that I always try to explain what I had in mind or what were my plans.
Mhm.
And but sometimes people can be toxic, and in this case, I either just stop answering um, or just try to convince the people of what my point is, even if it does. It's like talking. I don't really like offending people, so I avoid that at
Mhm.
max. I don't really like conflicts. I like to have ideas and I like to brainstorm ideas. And I don't really mind if an idea is bad or not. For example, you can have a horrible idea, but it can be used for something else. That's the mindset I always have. So that's basically how I deal with like feedback.
Yeah.
And I'm always open to hear what people have to say, but as long as they are not being toxic, of course. And I will always try to discuss. And sometimes you might point to me something that I will like, oh yeah, that's actually true. I should change that, and I
Mhm.
will do it because for me, it's more important that the game is good for everyone than my own pride or something like that. Because I love the game and I want it to be good. If that makes sense.
Mhm. I mean, that seems to be a pretty good way of handling it, you know, listening to feedback if it's worth listening to, and if it's just toxic nonsense, then to disregard it. Um,
Yeah.
Sort of backtracking to your work on 2.0. It did the sort of amount of work persist or increase or decrease after the updates release, considering we've gotten so many patches with balancing?
No, I'm currently working on stuff. So yeah, I'm always working on stuff.
Yeah.
There is always stuff to be worked. That's so yes, I'm currently working on a really cool project that I can't talk about,
Mhm.
but it's gonna be cool. That's what I can say. So yeah, there is like I'm always since I'm the most active developer. There is like I'm always doing something, and even if it's not like related to making features, it's like I'm bug fixing or I'm fixing the network because a crash happens or something like that.
Mhm.
uh, or for example, if we reach our limits and we need more space for more players because a lot of players are joining, I also need to handle that. And so go on, I'm always doing stuff basically.
Mhm. Um, and on that topic, are there things you would like to add or create in the future that you haven't sort of been able to do yet?
Yeah, of course, I have a lot of changes that I would like to see on Wynncraft, but I'm not gonna talk about them because they
Mhm.
might be done and then we'll be spoiling.
Yeah. Um, and sort of you came from this whole background of Wynntils and modding.
Mhm.
Do you feel like that helped you sort of already knowing things you want to add to Wynncraft did that sort of help with ideas? I'm thinking since you became a developer, we've, for example, seen the Quest Beacon, right? Which was only a Wynntils feature before, but now it's part of the game.
Yeah, the quest beacon is quite a funny story because it was like I think it was my second task that Salted asked me to do when I joined the team, and the first concept we have of the beacon was so bad. We had like a literally Minecraft beacon that would spawn every time you would walk. It would not follow properly, and it kind of worked, but it was like really bad because the beacon would disappear and it would take like 5 seconds for it to appear on the next position that you would need to follow. And then Crunkle came up with the idea of actually using the beacon we have today, using models and stacking them upwards, and that's what he had. And that actually blew my mind because I wasn't like when I joined, I was so fixated with like vanilla structure that I didn't realize there was a possibility. So when Crunkle suggested that, it actually blew my mind because I was like, holy cow, there is a lot of potential of how stuff can be done. We can, and that's mostly what we are doing on Wynncraft. We are grabbing Minecraft features and we are completely tweaking them to make some cool stuff. And we abuse everything we have in our power to make this stuff to happen. So that's actually one of the things that I really like of working on Wynncraft. The like when you figure out something new or something you can abuse to make to make feature or whatever it is, it's a really good feeling, even though it's still hacky according like if it would be an actual game. It's still quite satisfying when you are able to create something. For example, the ability tree menu, right? That is like way different than every other menu we have.
Yeah, how can such things, like how can non-vanilla things be created? You mentioned the menu, which is a good example, right? Because it's made out of like 5 different textures, right? There's like a middle section, a
Yeah,
top corner, and bottom corner for each side.
there is 4 actually.
Oh,
But yeah, the thing, so when we were developing the ability tree, we were gonna do it like all the other menus where we have like the upper part be the where you would have the connections, but the tree also requires buttons. Like you have the pagination button, you have like to go to the next page, go back, and then you have the reset button and stuff like that. And if you would have that on the main page, you would lose a bunch of space that could be done for abilities, and that would like limit our potential quite a lot. So when Salted presented me his idea of how he thought the ability tree menu could look like, I was like, that's gonna be a problem. What if we actually use the player inventory to place button as well? So that's how the ability tree menu works. We are both using the top inventory. We have like the normal inventory up, but we are also using the player inventory. For example, if you open the ability tree menu right now and you take a look at your hotbar, you're going to notice that all your items are kind of vanished. That's because we replaced your inventory with the ability tree menus buttons.
no way. Wait, so this is like a double chest or something, and then this is our own inventory.
Yeah.
No way.
You have your double chest, that is the upper part of the ability tree, and you have your inventory where the buttons are like the next page, the skill point and stuff like that. And that's the kind of hacky stuff we are always doing. There is way more cases of this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now I can't unsee it, the little square on the bottom here. Just wow.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I ruined it. Just kidding.
Oh, that's very creative. Wow, what a solution. But do you feel like with the tools you have, do you feel limited in what you can create since you're bound by another game essentially?
Yeah, definitely. I wish we could change the climb easily, because then we could do a lot of cooler stuff. But unfortunately, yeah, there are some limitations, and especially because we are running on lower versions like 1.12. There are features that we could do that are like 1.13 plus that would be really cool, but we can't because we need to support 1.12 as well. So yeah, that's also something that limits the amount of stuff we can do.
And speaking of 1.12 and such, you know, when we had Afro as a builder, you know, he mentioned how switching to a newer version would allow for more options in block palette selections and such, do you think
Yeah.
that it would be realistic to for Wynncraft to update in the future to a higher version?
Updating to a higher version would require a lot of work on the server code. Mostly because it's currently not. It's like a mix of a bunch of versions, which is not good. But yeah, definitely. But there is a lot of stuff we can do to actually make like 1.19 blocks be available on be available in the game. Because we can just, for example, for blocks, we can just translate or replace them in older versions. For example, if you have like a purple block on a new version, we could replace this block on a lower version with like purple wool or whatever has a similar texture and the same color.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's not like a big issue for us. At least for blocks in specific, we can always pull them back. But there are certain features we can't use.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't make sense for other players.
Seeing as,
for example, new sounds.
Yeah. Yeah, that is something that's been added as well with newer quests. But seeing as to the sort of modding community now, right? Wynntils is moving to 1.19 and such. Do you think it would be a good idea for Wynncraft to update? You know, it would not only give more blocks, you know, but it would give more mob models and probably allow for other tools to be used.
Yeah, there is definitely way more tools you can have in upper versions. You have core game shaders that can be used to manipulate what you were actually seeing in the game, which could be useful for making quite some insane features. But honestly, even though Wynntils is on 1.19.2, our good portion of our player base is still playing on 1.12.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that would be ideal to change or force change. If it would happen, it would need to be smooth. Like, find a way to incentivize people to play on upper versions.
Yeah.
Then just like completely locking it, and then whenever we run out of players playing on 1.12, then we completely switch to the upper version. But that's a hard task to do. It's not easy.
That's a good point. But sort of on the topic of tools, right? I've asked the other content team members. We got on the topic of what they're able to use, right? Afro Snail, for example, mentioned that it would be great if quality assurance had more tools that would allow them to jump into a specific section of a quest, right? So they could easily bug test it, for example. Are there any tools you as a developer would want?
Well, not really, because I can just create the tools I want. But in this case, for quality assurance, yes, quality assurance sometimes likes the tools. But in specific for the case Afrosade, it's not really a thing that developers should work. Like jumping to specific parts of the quest. That's something that the person that is creating the quest, the GM that is creating the quest, should do, because they can just create a script that jumps the player to that part of the quest. And that's how I've tried to make the CT design their quest based on common game design points. For example, having checkpoints every once in a while. Like, it doesn't need to be an actual checkpoint, but like a point on the progress of the quest that players can just jump back into it, because it makes it as a fail safe, if that makes sense. And we have tools for making that already. But yeah. We will always like, the content team will always want new tools, because it's good to play with new toys, and sometimes you need something that doesn't exist yet. But yeah, and that's why we put effort on creating more tools. But yeah, of course we are always gonna lack tools. But it's not like we want to create even cooler content. It's just like sometimes we don't have time to actually develop all the tools.
Do you have conversations within the team on what they would want to see given to them as tools and such?
Yeah, usually what happens is that managers will tell me and Salted if they need something, or if players or if the content team needs something, they are usually they just go there. We have like an ideas channel on the staff Discord, and people will just like randomly put ideas, even if it's for the game or if it's like a random tool they could use, and stuff like that. It's not like we are always welcoming ideas for tools.
Yeah.
Because if it's something, there is like efficiency is really good. If there is something you can do more efficient than what you're doing right now, that means you'll be consuming less time to make the same content, if that makes sense. So giving more tools is guaranteeing that content will be made faster, and they will also have better quality as long as the tool has also quality. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm skipping back to the previous conversation here about the version, because we got a question here from one of our event managers. What's the main reason holding Wynncraft back? Is it the player base, or is it the amount of things that would break due to the code being for older version?
And what do you mean by holding Wynncraft back?
Sort of holding what's the reason that Wynncraft isn't updating to a higher version?
Oh, it's just that the code is very it's very spaghetti at the moment. It's less since I joined because he wrote like good portions of it, but still happens. And the server core specifically is quite spaghetti. There is like as I say before, there is like a lot of players playing on lower versions and more stuff in general like that. It would be a hard task to as a single developer to actually update everything. Honestly, it would be easier to just write a server software from scratch than to use like one of the availables currently, like Spigot or Craft Bucket or whatever you prefer.
Yeah. So it's both a mix of the player base, but also the sort of internal code.
Yeah.
We got a question from chat here that was since you work part-time, I'm assuming, do you consider Wynncraft a hobby or more of a career?
Yeah, Wynncraft is my main work. I only work on Wynncraft.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Tony asked in chat, when do you plan on joining bingo night? Our squad needs you.
I don't know, dude. I have been really busy. So yeah. Bingo night.
Yeah. Taking into account that you're an admin of Wynncraft and owner of Wynntils, what's your thought on the new sort of community mod being Voices of Wynn? What's your thoughts on it?
I really like it. I think Voice of Wynn is a cool project, and I wish they keep maintaining it because they have a lot of good voices in there, and I really like it. It helps quite a bit playing with voices than just reading dialogue, because sometimes you don't want to read stuff, but having the voices helps quite a bit.
Speaking of mods, because that was from one of the Voices of Wynn team. What about my mod pack? Wink, wink.
Your mod pack, Alliance.
Yes.
Honestly, I think your mod pack is fine. I know that Salted uses it, so you have a huge representation there. He's a huge fan of your mod packs. He's always using it.
Really? Even the new one?
Yeah. I think he's using your latest one. I'm not sure.
That's great. I have to ask him tomorrow.
But yeah.
Let's see. We have some more community questions here. Yeah. K-Maxi, the sort of the creator of Voices of Wynn, he wonders what should people learn, or what should they practice on if they're interested in becoming a developer?
Developer in general, or developer
for Wynncraft?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not sure what you need. Specifically, you just need to be. I feel like a good recipe for you being good at something is that you need to be passionate about it and also like what you're doing. it doesn't really matter if you are good, like a good programmer or something like that. You can always have potential to, as long as you have the potential to learn and are willing to learn, you might feel your role quite well. And the true ingredient for turning into a specialist of something is just being passionate about it. And that's pretty much it. If you like the thing you were doing, you're gonna do it great because you like it.
Yeah. And sort of looking at how you got approached for working for Wynn. That's quite the unusual story, but did you have the sort of regular hiring process? Did you have interviews and such as well?
I had one interview with Shamlet, and I don't really remember how it went because it was so long ago. But my recruiting process took a little bit, mostly because John was really busy. So he would ask me something, and then I would answer, and then he would take like 1 day to answer back, which took a bit.
And that's
because he was busy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took like a little bit, and yeah, but then I joined it. I was explained some stuff. I was tasked with my first ticket that I had to take was like quite easy. And then it started escalating up and up and up. So for example, I went like from it was blocking from like what is the correct word for like swear words from being used on pets. That was my first task.
Oh, you fixed
and I was like, oh, okay, that's quite easy. We already have like list of bad words.
Oh yeah.
And then my second task, let's make a beacon beam.
Yeah.
And then my third task was like, okay, let's do wars.
Quite the escalation. Quite the escalation.
Yeah. I'm glad I survived the trial.
Yeah.
With wars. But yeah, Solid believed in me. He was like, Jomla thought I wouldn't be able to actually finish everything on my own, but Solid actually was like, no, I think he can actually do it.
That's great.
And then I actually did it. Yeah.
Do you feel like you have a lot of support in your endeavors from the content team, but also, you know, admins or owners like Jomla and Salted?
Yeah. As I said before, I love working with Solid, and that's pretty much it. I really love working at Wynncraft, and I'm happy on keeping work on it.
And I saw one of my event managers say, "Dude made Wynncraft his life. He's living my dream." Quite true. Quite true.
Yeah, basically.
We all envy you. But I'm gonna sort of skip to a different type of topic here for a moment.
Sure.
You work probably with a lot of secret things, and since you have a paid position, is it true that developers have to sign a so-called non-disclosure agreement?
Yeah, I do have an NDA signed. Sorry. So if I leak something, Salted can literally destroy my life. Not that he's gonna do it.
Does it say specifically what the punishment might be for breaking
it? Honestly, I don't remember. I signed it like 2 years ago. But yeah, it is mostly related to the Wynncraft source code, because, as you know, I have access to the entire Wynncraft source code, and I'm just not allowed to leak anything.
Yeah.
Because it would be bad.
But sort of on the topic of contracts, do they also include anything about prohibiting you from working for a competitor?
No. My contract doesn't forbids me from working for other people. I just don't, because I feel like I don't have enough time to do that. And I'm not really interested on doing so as well. So I have like a mindset that is like, as long as you are comfortable with something, it might be better to keep it as is than you like try to go over your limit, because if you can, your body can handle you going over your limit for quite a long period, but then after you stop, you might get destroyed. So you need to kind of balance that thing out. So yeah, of course I could work in like 3 other servers at the same time and do everything. But it's mostly guaranteed that I wouldn't deliver the same quality as I am delivering right now. And like after a few years, I would be like insanely tired and I wouldn't want to do anything anymore. So I just prefer to keep the balance there. It's just like a long-term thing.
Yeah. Sort of, you know, I asked you what the sort of bigger things you've worked on were, or your favorite thing to work on, and you mentioned the ability tree, which is, you know, quite a large thing to having worked on. But are there smaller things that, you know, might go unnoticed that you've worked on?
Yeah, there's a lot of small details that I add that not a lot of people notice. For example, after 2.0, mobs don't get inside your face anymore. They always try to keep a little bit of distance before 2.0, they would like get inside of you quite constantly because they would get pushed and stuff like that. Now they always try to avoid doing that, which is a small change, but it's like makes the combat a little bit more satisfying because stuff getting to your face is quite annoying. One more. All the note blocks were out of tune for years.
Really?
And I fixed it like recently, a few months ago. I fixed all the note blocks being out of tune. That was like a really funny fix because I always noticed they were out of tune, but it was like maybe it's like some weird Minecraft limitation. It might like maybe like it gets out of pitch because I'm moving or something like that. But turns out it was not. The values were for the pitches were wrong. And there's small details. For example, you know, when you take a big hit and your screen kind of goes like white for a few seconds. That's also me. I added that thing, and it's a small detail that I like because it helps to tell new players that they're not supposed to be on where they are because they're taking too much damage, or they're just taking too much damage there, so they need to be a bit more careful. Because one of the problems I see with deaths is that deaths can be a bit frustrating, because for a new player at least, because you just like take a hit and you die and then you respawn somewhere else, which can be a bit confusing. So having this hit animation helps player to realize that they are taking a lot of damage, especially when the health bar is not like as a proper MMORPG. You have like the Minecraft health bar and it's not completely visible, so you might be taking a lot of damage and not noticing, if that makes sense. So yeah, there's like a bunch of small details that I did. For example, you have like the ability tree menu. When you click to open the reset menu, you have that like tiny scrolling animation between one point to another.
Oh yeah.
I also did that, and I'm really proud of that. It's just like small details that makes. Yeah, it's just like the small animations and details that I like to include. You have like the scrap menu as well, the one that when you scrap items, you have that animation. I also made that.
Oh, cosmetic items.
Yeah, you know when you scrap like 5 cosmetics and it does like the
little you know, or like it goes a little covers them, or yeah.
Yeah, and there's like a bunch of sound effects related with small details, like when you have like the guild start sound that is made to replicate like a very heavy drum that I don't really know the name in English, and it's like boom. And then you have like the season end, the season start, the keywords delivered that makes like a cool, satisfying sound effect for when you like receive a keyword for a guild season, and stuff like that. I love small details. I think they make everything more satisfying. For example, I also try to add a bunch of audible feedback to all the menus. So before I joined Wynncraft, no menu had like interaction sounds. They would make like nothing. It would just like click and they would switch. Now most of the menus you would interact to, they have like page sounds that make like every time you click or something like that.
I just did it.
It's just like it's just some satisfying feedback that helps you understand that you click. And these small things, they all accumulating to provide a better experience for the player. And yeah, that's the stuff I'm always doing, like improving little points that looks really small, but all it improves like how you think or what you think of the game.
I mean, that is sort of what differentiates, right? Sort of the average developer from someone who actually cares about what they're doing. You're putting effort into the small details that you know you might not notice unless you're looking into it, but it really does affect the sort of
Yeah, I really don't like delivering stuff that I don't feel satisfied with. Um, so I will only finish or mark something as finished or finish something if I'm really happy of how it turned out. Because if I'm not happy with the thing I created,
yeah.
how can someone else like it? If that makes sense. So that's what I keep in mind always.
And on that topic, right? I previously talked with Oculism, and I asked him, you know, if he is his own biggest critic. Would you say the same about yourself?
No, I don't think so. I hardly critic myself, but not like in the sense that I'm like, oh my god, I'm so good that I don't need a critic. But it's because I don't like the mindset of criticizing yourself. I like when people tell me something. For example, they find something really annoying, like a weird sound that I put, and I was like, oh, yeah, I can see that. How can that be annoying? But I don't like criticizing myself because I feel like it's like you're doing self-harm, if that makes sense. So I just prefer it to let other people tell me. But of course, I'm always evaluating if whatever I'm doing is sane. For example, I'm not gonna add like a super loud sound if you click a button or something like that.
Yeah. Modding, right, going back to Wynntils and such, but modding, you know, does give some more opportunities of changing the base game than just, you know, creating a vanilla server like Minecraft or Wynncraft. I mean, even though, you know, Wynncraft has, you know, gotten very, very far. But
Yep.
could you ever see Wynncraft having its own sort of community mod, but it's more like created by the Wynncraft content team?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure if we would be interested in something like that. Because it's a lot of work to keep up with a mod. At the same time, it would be cool to have like an official client, but at the same time, it's also important for us the no mod title.
Yeah.
Because like when you join Wynncraft for the first time and you're just like used to play Minecraft, you have kind of whoa experience because everything is new and we are breaking so many game mechanics to make it look cooler or do something different. And that's something we are proud of. We like showing the cool stuff we do because we're proud of it. So yeah, but yeah, definitely having a mod would allow us to create even cooler stuff. And that's why Wynntils exists.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking.
And that's why I created a Wynntils.
Yeah, because I was thinking how, you know, Wynncraft is very, you know, advertised on how it's unmodded, but perhaps there would be like a side mod created by Wynncraft that wasn't necessary, but it would add more official feeling, like features that the sort of only hardcore try hard or, you know, sort of invested in the community players would find useful.
I feel like tools like that, advanced tools, should be done by the community itself. And I understand that there is stuff like that could be done in the game. For example, we have the identification roles percentage that could be done in the game, but it's something that Salted say to me. This is like more for power users, and power users are more intended to like use Wynntils or something like that. When I was creating Wynntils, I was really careful with one thing, is that I wanted Wynntils, as I said, I was trying to improve Wynncraft, so I wanted Wynntils to feel like if it was part of Wynncraft. That's why you have like settings in the quest book and you have the custom quest book and stuff like that. All of that is just to make it more immersive. I didn't want it to make like a mod that looked like a mod. I wanted to make a mod that looked like part of the game.
Yeah.
And that's what I followed when I was developing for Wynntils.
Yeah. And sort of on the topic of your modding history, we got a question from chat here. What features from Wynntils did you basically copy paste into Wynn, if any?
Quite a bunch. Not literally copy paste, but because it's like too different. But you have the quest beacon, which wasn't my idea to copy, but you have like clickable party invites, clickable stuff in chat, and small stuff like that. There's probably more that I don't remember. I did a lot of stuff. I did the past, so it's kind of hard to remember small stuff.
Yeah, I forget the clickable things in chat. Really
Yeah,
useful.
you guys used to we used to have to type it. It was really bad.
It was really bad. Really important quality of life change.
Yeah, there is always like small quality of life changes you can make to make the game better, and I'm always up for it because I love making stuff easier.
Are there more things from Wynntils that would be possible to implement, or even other mods?
Probably. I just can't think something out of my head because I don't really remember the entire Wynntils feature list, and I'm not looking for something, so I can't remember one out of the top of my head. But definitely, there is probably more stuff that could. I literally said one actually. The identification rules, like adding the percentages, definitely could be added to the game.
That is something the community would love to see, I think.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, we have Wynntils, right? So
yeah, that's true. And then is that something you consider? Like, maybe I shouldn't add this feature because less people will use Wynntils.
No, I'm not biased toward Wynntils at all. If there's something I see that could be added into the game from Wynntils, and if see that it's like a cool change, I will do it because I would rather have it on the base game than on a mod itself.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna jump in here with quite a different type of question. Well, not maybe, but because you and I had a discussion before this interview took place, where I mentioned Chat GPT for people in the chat, an AI, basically an AI bot. With AI improving more and more over the recent years, do you think it could ever be possible for games like Wynncraft to in the future be able to use AI for randomly generated dialogue, but also even content?
It's quite funny to do that because Crunkle, when like OpenAI was starting, and he got a license to use it, and he actually added like a test NPC in the middle of ranking it that would like just literally talk to you and generate like a random quest text, and we just like talk that, and it was like such a funny experience. It was bad because it was like the start of OpenAI, but it was still like a funny experience. But yeah, technically it's possible, but guaranteeing the quality of such thing is like too hard.
Oh yeah, that's true. But would it be interesting to see?
Yeah, we once had in a dev server for a few minutes an NPC that would click and it would like generate and talk with you, and you would like be able to reply to it as well. And it would like automatically generate an answer for you.
And sort of on topic of having more different sort of endings and such, we've seen recently dialogue options. Is that something you worked on?
Yeah, I made the dialogue options.
Was that hard to create?
The dialogue? No, it was. I mean, there is still one bug with it that I don't like, that I need to fix in the future. That is sometimes when you select the dialogue, you might get kicked. I'm not sure if you ever experienced that, but sometimes it happens.
Oh yeah, that did happen once.
Yeah. But that's pretty much it. Crunkle created the dialogue system, like the new dialogue system, because he also made the new script language, and they are kind of tied together. Not exactly tied, but they were developed together. And I just added to the structure of the new dialogue code, the options. And it wasn't a hard task because Crunkle architected them quite well.
Is there something similar, like perhaps other ways of handling quests that you would like to see added into this sort of scripting system?
Yeah, of course, there is like a lot of features we could add, but I will again not talk about them because they might get added, so it would be spoiling.
Perhaps then, what is something you wouldn't want to see added?
I wouldn't want to see. I don't know, dude. It's harder to think on something you don't want than something you want.
Mm. Let's see, we got another question from chat. If that question is a bit hard to answer, we can jump into another one.
Sure. I mean,
someone asked, are you earning enough money by working part-time? And what do you do in your other time?
on my other time, honestly, it depends. Sometimes, for example, for the next weeks, I will be taking driving lessons at the same time, and it's like I need to do the lesson for like 5 hours, and it's quite annoying. But sometimes I'm making songs. Sometimes I'm just playing a random game. Sometimes I'm just actually keep working on stuff, or just like managing things on Wynncraft, like telling people to make particles or stuff like that.
Yeah.
It just varies. It's like a free time after that.
Are there parts to your role as a developer that might go unnoticed by the community? Like, are there things you do that they don't know about, or they wouldn't expect a developer to do?
Honestly, I'm not sure. Well, for example, I handled the particles, which is not like you don't expect a developer to handle the particles. That's kind of weird. What more? I also do some. Dude, it's a kind of hard question, because when you are a developer, or you are like the only developer of something, you kind of become a public figure, and becoming a public figure for something it's a little bit it's like a little bit complicated of something to, because there is like always things people expect you to do and people that don't expect you to do and such. So it's a bit hard to answer exactly if there is something people don't know I do, but I'm still doing my job. It's not like
I was, for example, thinking about now when Salted was away during the holidays, you were left in charge of sort of managing and making sure everything is working fine. Is sort of controlling lag and such. Is that?
But that's something I think that you would expect from a developer. I think that's something you wouldn't expect for Salted. Salted is like, we have like a bunch of alerts. Like if something crashes, we know. If a server goes like starts lagging, we know. If a lot of players get kicked randomly, we know. We have a bunch of alerts that makes our job easy. So maintaining Wynncraft working is not an essentially hard task. What you have to do is like an undergoing maintenance to make sure the systems are actually working, because you could have like silence. You can have stuff silent be throwing an error somewhere that could like kill the entire network after a few days. Or like a random application that starts memory leaking and then it just like kills an entire machine randomly because of that. Or the disk space goes full randomly and a game server dies because of that. Diagnosing this kind of problem is like always something hard, and sometimes we have it and they take a little bit of time to fix. There was like one specific issue related to connections that I fixed recently, which was sometimes when switching worlds, you would just randomly get kicked from the world with like read connection timeout, something like that. And it was like a slight hard bug to fix, because it was so hard to actually point what was causing it, because there was like a billion factors. So maintaining Wynncraft active, like online, is way easier than it's easier than it appears, but doing the maintenance that for that to happen is like the harder task, because sometimes stuff that you don't understand happen, and then you need to figure out what happened, which was the case for like the 2.0 release.
Yeah.
That we had to like shut down the entire network for a few hours to fix a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I remember that. I was about to shout and it went down. Didn't shout. Very sad.
But yeah, yeah, that was like, I had like the perfect plan for the 2.0 release. I came with the idea of using the lobby queue to not kick everyone and just keep everyone in a queue, and everything went like smooth for the first 40 minutes, where it was like we deployed the entire game, we applied the patch, everything was ready, we just need to release the game, release the players into the servers. We opened like 90 worlds already, so we just literally had to release the players. And then when we did that, like a specific microservice decided to die and just like brick all the worlds, and it was such a chaos. And then one of our providers also decided to die, like not a few after, which like slowed us immediately because we didn't knew what was causing them to die, and we didn't notice they had died because they were not reporting anything, and the error was not clear it was caused by them. So it was a turbulent release, but most because of this like small stuff that we weren't expecting. It's like, as I said, doing the maintenance of like microservices and the stuff we are running is always harder than actually keeping the game running itself.
Yeah. And with the whole, you know, how to run the game, are there sort of sides to running a Minecraft server that perhaps the community doesn't take into account when, you know, there's a lot of complaints about lag and issues like that?
Wait, sorry, what was the question?
What? Wait. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry. I kind of
Oh, that's fine.
blanked out for like 3 seconds while I was thinking on something. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. Are there like aspects of running a Minecraft server that the community doesn't really take into account when they complain about lag and similar issues?
Oh yeah. Maintaining a structure like Wynncraft is like very complex. There is like there was like gears working all the time. Like imagine the guild simulation, like the whole resources traversing from one point to another, and there was like guild people warring from a point to like billion wars per hour and stuff like that. And then there is like the trade market that is like executing operations every like 1,000 operations per second, people switching pages and stuff like that. These were all handled by microservices, and they are stuff that can be considered like keeping Wynncraft. They don't like the server itself, but for example, Wynncraft has a lot of entities, and entities are like the most cause of drops are TPS.
Yeah.
And we have like 20,000 entities for worlds, which that's kind of a lot. Imagine like 20,000 entities on a single space, like doing stuff and calculating like where it needs to go, who it needs to hit, what it like, and casting spells and doing stuff like that. So having a server like Wynncraft is actually a miracle.
Yeah.
Is actually some sort of miracle, because we actually run at 20 TPS like 99% of the time.
Which, for the viewers who might not know what TPS means, is what?
TPS is the amount of ticks the server does per second, which means the normal standard, like what we want, is 20. So which means the game ticks 20 times per second. 20 times per second. Every time it goes below that, the game starts to feel laggy. So for example, if you have like an entity that is walking and it walks like five blocks per second, if it's a 10 TPS, it's gonna walk 2.5 blocks. You have like 50% less performance, if that makes sense. So yeah.
And sort of on the topic of hosting a Minecraft server, I have a question here from one of the event managers. If you're allowed to answer, where is Wynncraft hosted, and does it use cloud hyperscalers or local servers, whatever that means. I have no clue.
Fortunately, I can't enter in much details about how the Wynncraft infrastructure is set up or where it is located. That would expose us to attackers and stuff, and we don't want that.
Yeah. Speaking of exposure to attacks, was it 2020 that both Hypixel and Wynncraft had a massive DDoS attack, right?
I think it was 2021.
Oh, perhaps.
But I'm not sure.
The pandemic is just all one blob at this point.
Yeah.
But how do you prevent that, or how do you handle a DDoS attack, or how do you handle attacks?
Essentially, we don't. We're not experts on dealing with this kind of stuff. So we just, as 90% of all people, just hire a service for them to do that for us. So that's all we have been running for ages. Unfortunately, on the Minecraft scene, there's like a bunch of DDoS attacks, which is kind of horrible, but it happens. Essentially, we just hire someone, not someone, a company that does the job of protecting us from this sort of attacks.
Does Wynncraft experience attacks like that more often than the average player might suspect?
Yeah, we receive a bunch of random DDoS attacks. Like recently, it was even published by Cloudflare, but we got attacked with like a huge, massive DDoS attack. It was like one of the biggest they ever saw, if not the biggest. And we were like, what? We didn't even realize because the protection like filtered the entire attack out.
I did.
But it was like one of the biggest DDoS in history. And we're like, and it was targeted at Wynncraft, and it's so weird to think about it.
When I saw that article, I thought it was talking about the sort of Hypixel Wynncraft takedown. But you mean to tell me that Wynncraft somehow has such a good system that, and I think they've called it like the biggest DDoS attack in internet history, and the average player didn't really suspect anything.
Yeah, we didn't realize. Like, we weren't informed by Cloudflare. We didn't know. They just like contacted us saying like, hey, did you guys notice something happened on this day? And they're like, no, everything was fine. So yeah, that's the story behind it.
That's pretty
Which means they're offering a great service.
That means that they're doing a great job, yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of on the topic of creating things again, moving back to developing. You made pouches, right? You made the emerald pouches.
Yeah, I did. And the super potions.
And the super potions, exactly. And one of my questions is potions were made stackable, but you can no longer trade them with other players. Is that intended, or is that some sort of unintended side effect?
Honestly, I think it's I think it's like an intended side effect. I didn't design the potions in specific. It was salted, and I don't really remember, but I'm pretty sure that's like intended. Or if it's not intended, it's like an intended side effect, the fact that you just can't take out potions.
Yeah. How does pouches, how do they work? How can you have one piece in your inventory hold a bunch of actual items?
Well, on the item of the pouch, we store the information. In this case, for emerald pouches, we don't need to store anything else than just the amount of emeralds you have inside of it. And then we have the automatic converters, right? So, for example, you have 4,000. If you have one LE, it's going to store as 4,096. So every time you open the pouch again, it just converts it automatically to an LE, because as long as you have the pouch that converts it automatically. The pouch system is quite a simple system by itself, but it has a bunch of other stuff that makes it feel satisfying, that were mostly taken from Salted's original ingredient pouch design,
Mhm.
which is like if you shift right click, stuff goes directly into a pouch. You can just like grab an emerald and click on the pouch, and it's gonna put inside of it as well.
Yeah.
You can right click to open its inventory, both on the hand and stuff like that. If you pick up emeralds, if you're like constantly picking up emeralds in the ground, it counts how many emeralds you picked instead of just like going +1 +1 +1. It goes like 1 2 3 4 5 and so on. And just like a bunch of conveniences that make them more useful and feel better. One thing I have like when designing this kind of stuff is that I always try to make it the most vanilla experience as possible. I always try to add all the vanilla behavior, all of the vanilla clickings, because that's something the player might expect to work. And if it doesn't work, it feels bad. It doesn't feel like too clean, if that makes sense. So when I was making the pouches, I make sure all the interactions the player can have with inventory make sense, and like they can shift click, they can just like use this quick stack button and stuff like that, just to ensure that it feels vanilla and feels good to use.
Yeah. And sort of on the topic of pouches and sort of stacking items, is there a possibility that we might see other items or similar things be stackable in the future?
Like pouches for other stuff? Well,
Yeah.
honestly, I don't know. Maybe, who knows?
For example, I think a lot of proffers would very much appreciate a material pouch.
Well, what do you mean by material? Have like the
Like the
oh, you mean like for raw materials? Yeah. I see.
Like
Yeah.
you could gather infinitely. You wouldn't have to go to the bank every time.
Well, there is like some aspect of having to go back to the bank. The main gameplay loop of Wynncraft is that you are in a city, you go do something, and then you come back to the city to like store items and prepare stuff. And this is part of the gameplay loop, and it's something it was designed this way. It's not there for no reason at all.
Yeah.
So we need to take into consideration this kind of stuff when we are creating this search of quality of life improvement. Coming back to cities is a good thing.
And backtracking to the script system, that's pretty new for Wynncraft, right? When you get new tools as a creator, it's often very, you want to try everything right away. But do you think that the sort of new script system has potential that has yet been explored? Are there, custom things that we haven't seen in the community yet?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. The script system is quite powerful. It was made by Crunkle, the new version, and it works quite well. And it has like a lot of stuff you can do. You can actually manipulate a huge portion of the game using it. You can do like simple stuff, but you can also do math, and you can also ray trace blocks. You can also do a billion of other stuff. You can change the player time and do everything. So it's more about having the content, the GM to have creativity to create something cool with it than something else. But yeah, definitely there is stuff that we could do with the script system that we guys never saw. For example, it's 100% possible for you to create, I think actually you might be able to create a complete like a chessboard in script easily. Not easily, because chess is not an easy game, but it's definitely possible. It's just like you need a little bit of programming knowledge to be able to create such features.
Yeah. Sort of.
Yeah.
mhm.
You also, yeah, and like an example, we have like the blackjack merchant.
Yeah.
That is also a co-creation that was done using this. It's like an unexpected thing that was done by the city with the tools we offered. And the tools are really powerful, but they aren't very clear what you can do. So you just come of like you need to have the idea of what you want to create.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I forget. The sort of question we've asked every guest so far has been what their favorite color is. Do you have a favorite color?
Honestly, I don't have a favorite, but I think red makes the most sense. Like everything I have is red. Like my profile picture is red. I have like red thing on my hair, and my skin I'm wearing right now has a bunch of red. So yeah, I don't have a really favorite, but I can say that I really like red.
Red's a
So,
good
yeah.
color.
Yeah, I agree.
And speaking of your sort of skin and profile picture, I think we had a question in the beginning from chat asking, do you look like your profile picture?
Not right now because I have a beard. My hair kinda, and I also have glasses, so not really.
A fellow blind person, that's always appreciated.
Yeah, dude.
No, chat didn't like it when I called myself blind. But yeah, how do you see the future of Wynncraft? Do you see yourself working for Wynncraft in the future?
I assume so. I don't really think much about the future. For no reason at all. I just don't. There isn't much to it. I just don't really think about the future. It's like a really like not satisfying answer, but it's the truth, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. Perhaps thinking about the past is better then, because Wynntils, I mean Wynncraft is soon turning 10 years.
Yeah, Wynncraft is making 10 years.
And you've been here basically for all of it. How would you like to see it sort of celebrated?
How I would like to see it. There's a lot of stuff. I can think of a bunch of stuff, but again, it's the sort of question that I might do. So, okay, I have an idea that I'm definitely not gonna do, but I think it would be cool. Let's replace all player skins with salted, and I think that would be like the funniest thing ever.
That would be fun. I was thinking that
unfortunately, no one would get it.
To be replaced with salted.
Yeah, that could be cool as well. Let's replace all reference. Every time someone says a name, like an NPC name, it's just salted. Or variants of it, like Cowman.
All quest dialogue is just salted, repeated over and over again.
Yeah. And all the NPCs are also salted. You are also salted.
Yeah. Now, sort of back in the day, we used to have armor skins, right? But because of Eula, they had to be taken away.
That's not the reason they were removed.
Really? I thought it was because of Eula.
You mean armor gear skins are just like texture changes for each?
When you put on armor, you used to have like it used to switch your skin or how you looked.
Yeah, that's not because of the Eula. That's just because it was it's kind of complicated just to keep up. Imagine that we would need to like prepare a skin, then we would need to upload it to Mojang, then grab it and stuff like. At least that's what I assume. I wasn't here when. I mean, I wasn't a developer when it was done, but that's what it would assume. It's like a very hard system to keep active, and yeah, I don't think it was because of the Eula. I don't think the Eula bans anything like that.
Speaking of sort of skins and things, how do human NPCs, how is that possible?
What do you mean how? And they're just
like we have
normal entity.
But how is that? Like Minecraft doesn't have like a human except a player.
As Minecraft has Orpheon, no Linus.
Well, I don't know everything that to me it's a mystery how all of this works,
Well, you have so in the client, yes, you have the entity players, but you have also something called entity human, and that's what we are using right now. Unfortunately, it's kind of like a hacky solution. As long as you can have the entity human, but you also need a player to be bound to it. So what we do is like we fake a player. The same way your work exists, we can create a fake player of you.
Oh.
So yeah, that's how NPCs work. We just tell your client that, hey, there is like a player there, and that's an NPC. It's not an actual player.
Ah. It, I don't remember from where I got this from, but when the tab menu was remade, the gray squares, how are those created?
The gray squares? You mean like this tab? The current tab?
Like this, yeah, like when you tab and see everyone's names, there are gray squares. Are there something
It's just a
specific?
player skin.
That's a player's. When
Yeah,
you
it's just a player skin with gray head.
oh. When you import player skins, do you have to have a separate account for them? Or do you just upload a skin and
Um, the way Minecraft works with this skin is that whenever you upload a skin, it creates like a signature, a URL for your skin, and when it was created, it basically stores like a bunch of data. This data is always available, even if you remove your skin or change your skin, it's always there. So essentially, you just need one account, and then you create the skin, grab like the skin hash, which is stores all this information, and then you have like you can use that skin for anything.
interest?
So yeah, you don't need to keep the player with the skin. You can just like have one player and just upload in and then keep uploading. Then you have services like Mine Skin, which is exactly made for that. You upload a skin and it just like immediately generate the hash for you
Oh.
using their own Minecraft accounts. Yeah, it's made by a really good developer called Inventive Talent.
Do you keep track on other impressive developers within the Minecraft community?
I'm not keeping tracking. I just like eventually sometimes it's like when you are into a specific niche, you know some people and you were like always looking for something cool, for something cool other people are creating to have like inspiration for other stuff. So eventually you met, and sometimes you were just like randomly browsing for a service, and you're randomly browsing for a service and you find something cool, and it was like, oh, who created this? And then go and see.
Sort of wrapping things up. Is there something you feel should change in Wynncraft? For example, our other guests have talked about loot running and professions and such.
Okay, that's another question that I it's like if I answer would be spoiling, but I would answer personally just because I did the same answer like 5 times already. Yeah, I would love to see wars change. I don't really like how wars play.
Yeah.
And the loot running system as well.
Do you have a concept of how you would like wars to go?
Yeah, but not gonna share
You
that.
can't tell us, yeah.
Yeah.
But the guild community might be excited for future things.
Yeah.
I see.
Eventually we are gonna change it. Just we don't know when.
Guild update, Wynncraft 3.0.
Yeah. I would definitely not leak that we are working on Wynncraft 6 right now.
Yeah. Wynncraft 22.0 coming out next year.
Yeah, that comes after 6. We're skipping directly to 22.
Yeah. Sounds cooler with like Wynncraft 100.0.
Yeah, your chat is asking about my phone ringing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you need to go?
No. It's fine.
It's fine.
I just was trying to mute my phone, but I didn't know where it was, but I found it.
Oh, you need to step up your questing pace. Or questing? No. Questioning, I'm assuming. Or maybe he means questing. I'm not sure. But where were we? Now I got distracted by chat here. Things you would like to see changed in Wynncraft. Is the sort of content team or developers, do you keep up with what the community wants to see added or changed?
Yeah, I do keep up with a lot of. I'm always reading like constructive feedback on the Wynncraft Discord or actually the forum thread. I really like reading new ideas because, as I said in the beginning, even if the idea can be bad itself, it can be used as a fuel for something else. It might be used like you can probably read something bad and it would like, oh, that actually could work on another context, if that makes sense. So yeah, I really enjoy reading what people think about Wynncraft and what could be changed, as long as of course they're not being toxic, because there's a lot of that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm always keeping up with what people expect to see and checking the suggestions. For example, the guild community has like a Discord where they just share. They have like a suggestion channel of things they think would be cool.
Yeah.
And I'm always reading that because I find it quite interesting to read about what people think and what they would do if they were in your place. In general, I really feel like feedback is great and is very welcome.
I feel like that would sort of make very many players happy to hear, because there's always this sort of, you know, conversation within the community, like, are we being listened to? Is, you know, does our complaining matter? But, you know, it's really nice to hear that you're, you know, you're keeping up to date and, you know, checking what the community thinks about the stuff you work on.
Unfortunately, of course, we don't have time to answer everything, but we do keep track. It's like, if you use your common sense, it's like, we are the developers of the game. Of course, we want the best for the game.
Yeah.
It's not like we're trying to make it worse or anything.
Yeah.
So if we do something, we truly believe it would work, even if it's like a bad idea and we just didn't notice. But everything is always passive of changing, and that's what matters. So yeah. But yeah, sometimes the community can be stressful related to that, because they think sometimes they think the admins are don't play the game or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is not true. We actually play the game.
And care about it a lot.
Just kidding, we never play the game.
Wynncraft what? I thought I was working for Remixes.
Yeah. We play the game, of course, and because we created, like, there is no way we are gonna make something without playing it. But yeah.
With the 2.0 update, right? Salted sort of talked a lot about sort of all the work you had done, right? You know, improving particles, the new drop effects, how things aren't in your face anymore. Does that sort of give you a, you know, does that make you happy to hear, you know, Salted really, you know, really brag about your work and talk about how good it is?
Yeah, definitely. It's always good to see people saying that your work is good and they like what you're doing. It's a good feedback, and it's even great when it comes from your boss, because it makes you more motivated to keep working and stuff like that. Compliments are powerful tools that can be used when you manage stuff. But yeah, they are always welcome.
Let's see. I'm not sure if we have more questions from the chat. At least my managers haven't given me any. Is there anything you feel like you haven't been asked about but you wanted to talk about?
I mean, there is a lot of stuff I could talk about, but can't think of anything specifically. You can ask me literally. If you ask me something about that is a gameplay feature, I might know how to answer. So it's up to you.
Gameplay features. Well, let's see. My managers might have some more questions for me to bring up here. I might have missed. Oh yeah, I missed a question here. Someone in chat, don't remember who, asked, how good are you at Osu?
Oh, I'm okay. I'm like average. I'm rank 97K. So yeah, there's like 97,000 people in front of me on the leaderboards from like 2 millions. But yeah, I think that's pretty much average. I'm okay at it.
97.
But yeah, I see that I have some stalkers right there that are stalking my Osu profile.
I've never tried Osu, but it looks very complicated. Oh, yes, of course.
It's just like a rhythm game. I love rhythm games.
The sort of, you know, the stream or the event has been doing quests. So on the topic of that, do you have favorite quest?
I knew you were gonna ask that, dude, and I had an answer, but I completely forgot. 1 second, let me think again. Because I haven't really played any of the new quests because I simply didn't had much time. But I think before I really like quests that have puzzles. I really like solving puzzles. So any quest that is like you need to think more about a puzzle, it's quite entertaining. For example, I really like the concept behind the question mark RRG because it's just a puzzle and I love puzzles. So so yeah, I think question mark is not my favorite quest because it's like the only thing that makes it cool is the RRG, not the quest itself. But I think any quest that will have like a lot of puzzles, I really like it.
Do you have a least favorite quest?
Least favorite quest? I think I do. I just don't remember. Wait, let me check my quest list. I think it might be like, oh yeah, I know. I hate Enzian's brother. I'm a big Turk star hater.
Oh.
I mean, I'm of course joking, but it's my least favorite quest.
I mean,
but I hate the Turk stars. They don't make any sense.
That's such a good point. It's something I haven't thought about in a while, but they did say when they added it that it was gonna be gone soon, and it's still there, and it's an eyesore. So.
Well, yeah, it's like it's a goofy thing, and it's kind of funny, but at the same time, for a new player, it's like, what? Why the hell there is a stair here? Right now?
Yeah, looks like some.
There's like a random stair
in progress.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like a work in progress build. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Dark Series, unfortunately.
We got a question here. Why are soul points still a thing?
Why are soul points still a thing? Well, because we never removed them. That's why they're still a thing. I'm not sure I don't think we are happy with the soul point system. But we need a system to replace it, and we didn't figure out a really cool solution yet.
Yeah.
But they might get replaced in the future. I don't know.
Can we expect a buff to Assassin?
It's hard to say a buff to Assassin, but you can expect changes to Assassin. Yeah, definitely. Currently the IMs are taking care of the ability rebalancing, and they are creating plans for Assassin. So eventually we are gonna do and implement their plans and make Assassin better, because we are also not happy with the state of Assassin.
Yeah.
Of course.
Because I know that a lot of Assassin mains have been worried about Trickster and Jade Stepper. But yeah, I believe those were all the questions I had for you. Do you sort of feel like you've had the sort of ability to talk about the things you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, definitely. As I hear, I'm just guest. So you make the questions, and if I can answer, I will answer them.
But yeah, I must thank you for joining in this special event here. It's been an honor to have you join us. Really, it has been. Also, thank you for joining my Discord, because now I have all 3 of you red names.
Oh, don't worry, I'm leaving right after 37.
Ah, dang it.
I'm kidding, of course. But yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
Thank you for
Congratulations on
joining.
10K, of course.
Hey,
Good
thank
luck with
you.
your quest adventure.
Thank
Hopefully
you.
you will not fail any puzzle
Oh,
and have to pay more VIPs.
I failed already during this Hall of Serenity got me.
I'm gonna purposely tweak all the puzzles so you can fail and pay more VIPs to the players
Oh, I
because
thought you were
to
gonna
your
help me
chat
out.
because they deserve it. The chat deserves it, Linus.
Yeah,
You need to take care of you need to better take care of your chat. They
yeah,
deserve it.
that's true. Don't hype them up. My wallet, my wallet. Yeah. Money that goes to
But yeah,
Wynncraft goes to your salary, so I see your point.
yeah. I'm definitely trying to pay my own salary right now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Thank you so much for joining.
you're welcome. Okay,
Thank you.
I'm gonna hop out now.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Bye. See you and have fun.
Thank you. I will. And that, guys, was the interview with HeyZeer0 or HeyZeer or HeyZeer0 or just Zeer or just Zero. But yeah, that was very interesting. Very fun.